Trump has done something no person in the world has ever done before. A dead man, a dead politician, has risen. Somebody who, if we were 4 years ago at Davos, he's buried, dead politically, known to me. He's now returned. This is the greatest comeback in political history of a politician. And then, therefore, he thinks he can do anything.
We need to also factor in not only who's won, which is Trump, but who's lost, which is to say us. And I guess I would throw into that the epitome of the us who is losing here is Europe. That the European Union and by and large its member states have misread the direction where events were going. The causes that it is interested in, climate, human rights, some others, as well as the methods of diplomacy that it prefers, are simply being gradually kind of marginalized as something new, not necessarily something better, but something new moves into the center.
That's about as open of an admission that you will ever get from the demons at Davos that they have lost. MAGA has conquered the world. This is what I've been saying to you guys over and over again since November 5th. You did not just change the nation on that day. You changed the world. And even the World Economic Forum is admitting it. As you just saw, the world's billionaires and bureaucrats have gathered in the Swiss town of Davos this week for their annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. And the figure that has cast his massive shadow over the whole gathering is, of course, the one and only Donald J. Trump, the 47th president of these United States. Trump will be speaking at the gathering remotely from D.C., and he'll be taking questions. And I'm sure making it absolutely clear to those gathered that a new world is rising, a new civilizationalist world that has little patience for their globalist antics coming out of Davos. And there's nothing that the demons at Davos can do to stop it. And Trump is not alone with that message. Bloomberg is reporting that world leaders in Davos are indeed falling in line with the Trumpian vision for the world, which involves a return to nation culture, custom, and tradition centered around civilizational sovereignty. Here is Argentina's dynamic new president, Javier Milei, speaking at Davos, telling them in no uncertain terms that their reign is over. A new conservative age is indeed rising.
Nor do I feel alone, because over the course of this year, I have found allies in this fight for the ideas of freedom in every corner of the world. From the amazing Elon Musk to that fierce Italian lady, my dear Giorgia Meloni. From Bukele in El Salvador to Viktor Orban in Hungary. From Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel to Donald Trump in the United States. Slowly, an international alliance has been forming among all those nations which, like ours, want to be free and believe in the ideas of liberty. And slowly, what once seemed like the absolute global hegemony of the woke left in politics, educational institutions, in the media, in supranational organizations, or even in forums like Davos, has begun to crumble. And a hope for the ideas of freedom is starting to emerge.
And what's so fascinating in all of this is that the demons in Davos are now openly admitting, as you heard earlier, precisely what many in the legacy media have been saying for some time now, believe it or not. In their more honest moments, some months back, the New York Times actually ran a piece admitting that the days of the WEF are indeed coming to an end. And this is simply because the editors at the Times recognize that the world is changing. And it's changing in ways that threaten to bring an end to the very existence of the WEF itself. The WEF, according to the New York Times, is losing relevance. Again, this is them writing several months back. It's losing relevance. It's losing its influence, its power to direct and dictate political and economic life around the world. And this is largely because, again, even the editors at the Times recognize that more and more populations around the world are deliberately turning away from globalism and globalist structures and goals like the WEF and are instead embracing nationalism, populism, and traditionalism. And this is the new center, as that fellow earlier was saying. That's the new center that's replacing the environment and green initiatives and woke human rights that were the centerpiece of the WEF's plan to impose on the world's populations. That centerpiece is now officially dead. Even the WEF, or at least some in the WEF, are admitting that. It is officially dead. And unlike Trump, it is emphatically not rising again. And I'm going to show you exactly why. But first, we often talk about how we can maintain and build up the conservative way of life here. And one crucial aspect of that is your routine. Staying strong physically and mentally isn't just about living longer, it's about living better, which starts with a good night's sleep. That's key. Every biohack you read, any article you read, they're going to tell you it starts with a good night's sleep. Now, I've been using Beam Dream every single night for a while now, and it's completely changed the way I sleep. I'm a horrible sleeper. I've let you guys know that. I have a very hard time turning my brain off. So oftentimes I'm lying in bed for like 2 hours. But gang, seriously, since taking Dream, I literally crash. I fall asleep so fast and I sleep so deeply and soundly all throughout the night. Gang, Beam Dream is made with the highest quality sleep promoting ingredients to help you unwind and get that deep sleep we all need, we all deserve. In fact, it's become a nightly ritual of mine that I look forward to every day. I love their brownie batter flavor. If I might recommend one, you got to try it. Plus, I never wake up feeling groggy the next morning. Instead, I wake up feeling rested and ready to give my all, making a huge difference in how I show up every single day. Now, right now, you can save up to 35% off with my exclusive Beam discount. Just click that link below or scan the QR code on your screen. Use code Turley at checkout. It's time to stop letting sleepless nights hold you back. Transform your sleep and your day with Dream because you deserve it. Click on that link below or scan that QR code right now. The WEF, we have to understand, is a thoroughly globalist organization that depends on liberal, technocratic governments to institute its woke policies all over the world. At the heart of the WEF is the implementation of what's called stakeholder capitalism. It actually goes all the way back to Klaus Schwab's book that he wrote back in the early 1970s entitled Modern Enterprise Management. That introduced this key concept for Schwab. Stakeholder capitalism is a system in which corporations are deputized by governments to serve the interests of the government. Now, of course, what they'll do is they claim it's all about serving the general population at large, the general welfare, right? Because as they say, we're all stakeholders in a far more just and fair and equitable, sustainable society. But in reality, stakeholder capitalism involves instituting what is called ESG, which stands for Environmental and Social Governance Criteria. And these are scores that corporations get in relation to those key areas so that investors can show they're investing in companies that advance left-wing social justice goals, and that includes green energy, racial equity, even abortion access. It's basically the attempt to pressure companies to become more and more woke. And many have noticed that the ESG scores are eerily similar to China's social credit system, which is, of course, a technocratic project that seeks to control and manage human behavior so as to maximize safety and sustainability. It's now widely recognized that the demons in Davos at the WEF are actively designing and seeking to implement the architecture of just such an internationalized social credit system, all in the name of a radically apocalyptic environmentalist vision where they actively believe that your consumption choices, your way of life, has the capacity to destroy the planet and life as we know it. And so that, in effect, is what the WEF is all about. It's all about, in the end, controlling your consumer choices so as to make sure you don't destroy the planet and that you promote social and cultural equity and on and on and on. And ultimately, they know that the only way they can do that is by destroying national sovereignty, because national sovereignty is the principal impediment or obstacle that stands in the way of their one-size-fits-all technocratic control. Unfortunately for the demons in Davos, national sovereignty is becoming the wave of the future, even on the populist left.
Elites gathered in Davos, Switzerland at the World Economic Forum to plan the future for the rest of humanity. Their scheme, which they call the Great Reset, will drain what's ever left in your bank account and strip mine the beleaguered middle class of its remaining equity. During COVID, the WEF actually dictated the lockdowns that shifted $4 trillion upward to this new oligarchy of corporate billionaires. The bankers, the investment houses scooped up our homes, advertising that you will own nothing and be happy. They have a plan, but my plan is to stop them. I've spent a career as an attorney fighting these corporate robber barons in court. I know how they work. I'm familiar with their impulses to commoditize our lands, our waters, our homes, even our children, and our workers and our public health. I've proven that I can beat them again and again and again and derail their schemes. They spend billions in advertising and propaganda to make us feel powerless, but they've underestimated the power of we the people.
Yeah, that was RFK when he was running for president. It was a brilliant commercial. And this is the brilliance of what's happening today right before our very eyes. Both populist left, populist right are aligning together in this massive coalition to push back against the demons in Davos and their one-size-fits-all political and economic woke system. This is what Javier Milei's speech was all about. Everything that the WEF planned to impose upon the world's population is being thwarted as we, the people, rise up against our own respective globalist political class, a political class that, by the way, is deeply in the pockets of the WEF. And the people are actively taking their countries and their national and economic sovereignty back. This is precisely what the editors at the New York Times were warning the demons in Davos all about months back. Again, even these editors recognize a massive worldwide populist revolt coming on the horizon, with a new civilizationless world rising in its wake. And now, to the other shock and awe of the demons in Davos, that new civilizationless world has indeed dawned. Their world is over. Ours has just begun.